you have to do is write one true sentence. Write the truest sentence that you know.
Ernest Hemingway was born in Oak Park, Illinois on July 21, 1899. In his career as a journalist, he covered the world. As a novelist, he is acclaimed for works such as The Sun Also Rises, A Farewell to Arms, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and The Old Man and the Sea, for which he received the Pulitzer Prize in 1953. As a teenager, Hemingway began his writing career as a reporter for the Kansas City Star. Rather than go to college, he volunteered in 1918 as an ambulance driver in the Italian army during the World War I. He returned to the United States after being injured. In 1921, Hemingway married his first wife, Hadley Richardson, and they moved to Paris. While in Paris, Hemingway joined the expatriate artist community American writer Stein. Hemingway socialized with Scott Fitzgerald, Pablo Picasso, James Joyce, and other artists. The Hemingways moved to Toronto, Canada, and they had a child. He worked as a foreign correspondent for the Toronto Star. In 1927, he divorced, and then he married journalist Pauline Pfeiffer. He had 2 children. In the 1930s, Hemingway engaged in adventure outdoor activities such as hunting in Africa and deep-sea fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. Hemingway bought a boat, the Pillar, in 1934. He equipped it to catch a big fish and travel around the Caribbean. He used his experience in his novel The Old Man and the Sea. In 1937, he covered the Spanish Civil War as a foreign correspondent for the North American newspaper Alliance. He met the journalist Martha Herborn, and he divorced, and then he married with she. They moved on a farm near Havana, Cuba. Hemingway served as a war correspondent in Europe during World War II. He met his 4th wife, correspondent Mary Wells, while living in London. Hemingway's novel about the Spanish Civil War has been nominated for the Pulitzer Prize in 1941, but he didn't win. However, in 1953, Hemingway won the award for The Old Man and the Sea. It became international bestseller. In 1944, he won the Nobel Prize in Literature. Hemingway received many shares throughout his lifetime of adventures. He was a heavy drinker who suffered from depression. When Hemingway and his 4th wife moved to Idaho, his mental health was deteriorated. On July 2, 1861, Hemingway committed suicide. He was 61 years old.
When Hemingway wrote The Old Man and the Sea, he was living in Cuba. He really fell in love with places and people, up to the point of considering himself Cuban.
Setting. The story of The Old Man and the Sea takes place in September of 1950 in a small fishing village near Havana, Cuba. To be more specific, in the waters of the Gulf Stream, somewhere off the coast of Havana. The main character, Santiago, is an aged Cuban fisherman who lives there. Anyway, most of the novel takes place in Santiago's boat, going through the sea. It is a sad story of an epic struggle between this man and the greatest catch of his life.
Creating a character and getting the reader involved with it is an art. Hemingway said, "When writing a novel, a writer should create living people. People, not characters."
Everything about him is old, except his eyes, and they are bright, cheerful, and undefeated. His name is Santiago. He's an old Cuban man, a skilled fisherman. His neck is full of wrinkles from the sun, and his hands are covered with the scars of many fishing battles. Santiago is brave, confident, determined, and optimistic despite adversity, even when he doesn't catch a single fish. Santiago is alone in the world. His wife passed away. His constant companion has been Manolín, a young boy who also loves fishing since he was a child. Santiago misses Manolín's company because he feels for him as he were his own son. Santiago is a tough man, and he is always making an effort to prove himself that he can do something else despite his age. He's got great strength and abilities. He's a humble man who lives in poverty, owning a small shack with no running water, yet he never complains. His life is just fishing, but he feels sorry for the creatures he catches. Every time Santiago falls asleep, an old memory comes to his mind. He remembers the African coast and the wild lions playing and running on the beach. Manolín looks up to Santiago as a teacher, a father figure, a hero. He believes in the old man's fishing abilities and enjoys his company. He's also Santiago's friend and protector. Manolín is no longer allowed by his parents to fish on Santiago's boat because they believe that Santiago is a loser, a bad influence for his son. But he still attends to the old man's needs on a daily basis. The boy is devoted to the old man, bringing him coffee and making sure that he has something to eat. The marlin, although he doesn't speak and we don't have access to his thoughts, the marlin is certainly an important character in this story. The marlin is the fish Santiago spends the majority of the novel tracking, killing, and attempting to bring to shore. The marlin is larger and more spirited than any Santiago has ever seen. The sea. Most of the story takes place on the sea, and Santiago is constantly identified with it and its creatures. Santiago refers to the sea as a woman, since the sea represents the feminine complement of a fisherman.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to be with you tonight and to discuss my new book. This is one of the things that I love to do most, and it gives me great pleasure that I can share it with all of you.
An old Cuban fisherman, whose name is Santiago, has gone 84 days without catching a fish. He is apparently so unlucky that his young apprentice, Manolín, has been forbidden by his parents to sail with the old man and been ordered to fish with more successful fishermen. Nevertheless, the boy continues to care for the old man. The boy visits Santiago's shack each night, hauling back his fishing gear, feeding him, and discussing the latest developments in American baseball, especially the trials of the old man's hero, Joe DiMaggio. Santiago tells Manolin that his unproductive streak will soon come to an end, and he resolves to sail out farther than usual the following day. Thus, on the 85th day, Santiago sets out alone, taking his boat far into the Gulf. He sets his lines, and by noon of the first day, a big fish that he's sure is a merlan takes his bait. Unable to pull in the great merlan, Santiago instead finds the fish pulling the boat. 2 days and 2 nights pass in this manner, during which the old man bears the tension of the line with his body. Although wounded and weary, the old man feels a deep empathy and admiration for the merlan, his brother in suffering, strength, and resolve. On the 3rd day of the ordeal, the fish begins to circle the boat, indicating his tiredness to the old man. Santiago, now completely worn out and almost in delirium, finds the strength to stab the merlan with a harpoon and kills him during one of the great lunges out of the water. Santiago straps the merlan to his boat and heads home, thinking about the high price the fish will bring him at the market and how many people he will feed. The old man determines that because of the fish's great dignity, no one will be worthy of eating the merlan. While Santiago continues his journey back to the shore, sharks are attracted to the trail of blood left by the merlan in the water. A large mako shark approaches to devour the merlan, and Santiago kills it with his harpoon, losing the weapon in the process. He makes a new harpoon by tying his knife to the end of an oar to protect him from the next lines of sharks. By night, the sharks have devoured the merlan's entire carcass, leaving only its skeleton. The old man castigates himself for sacrificing the magnificent fish. Finally, reaching the shore before dawn on the next day, he struggles on the way to his shack, carrying the heavy mast on his shoulder. Once home, he slumps onto his bed and enters a very deep sleep. The next morning, a crowd of amazed fishermen gathers around the skeletal carcass of the fish, which is still lashed to the boat. Knowing nothing of the old man's struggle, tourists at the nearby coffee observe the remains of the giant merlan and mistake it for a shark. Manolin, who has been worried sick over the old man's absence, is moved to tears when he finds Santiago safe in his bed. The boy fetches the old man some coffee and the daily papers with the baseball scores and watches him sleep. When Santiago wakes, the two agree to fish as partners once more. The old man returns to sleep, to dream of lions at play on the beaches of Africa. He no longer dreamed of storms, nor of women, nor of great occurrences, nor of great fish, nor fights, nor contests of strength, nor of his wife. He only dreamed of places now and the lions on the beach. They played like young cats in the dusk, and he loved them as he loved the boy.
Everything Hemingway wrote was possible. The themes and characters he addressed were largely self-referential. In The Old Man and the Sea, we can find him clearly.
Perseverance. The novel shows perseverance in different ways and on different levels. Although the old man could not catch anything for 84 days, he does not complain about his fate or feel anger at his fate at sea. Instead, the old man continues to go fishing and goes farther out into the open sea. The old man, like the marlin, his formidable adversary, does not give up. Despite thirst, fatigue, and hunger, Santiago finally defeats the mighty fish. He possesses the same willpower that allowed Santiago's hero, Joe DiMaggio, to play a flawless game despite painful injuries. In the end, when the sharks attack and feed on the marlin until there is nothing left, the old man kills them or fights back, one by one. Upon returning home without the fish, his skeleton serves as the only piece of evidence he had for all to witness. That was the best catch of his life. Santiago feels tremendous pity for the marlin, but he knows that he is not defeated, nor in his spirit broken. Like Jesus carrying the cross, Santiago will carry his mast, doing what fishermen should do, fishing. Pain and suffering. Pain is the price a fisherman must pay for a good catch. The protagonist's hands are scarred due to a long history at sea trying to hold and roll the fish. Scars are a sign of strength, will, and victory. The saying "no pain, no gain" explains the human ability to endure pain and suffering unlike other creatures. Like Joe DiMaggio, the old man overcomes the situation, catches the marlin, and establishes himself as a hero who rises above the rest. Physical strength and skill. As readers can notice in the story, Santiago is not as strong as he was. Nevertheless, the old man compensates for the lack of vitality and strength with superior knowledge and skill. Not less important, he also knows himself and recognizes his own limits. He knows exactly when to eat and when to rest, and he uses his skill to overcome certain situations. When he loses one weapon after another, during his battles with the sharks, the old man uses the resources at his disposal to create weapons that will keep him alive. Nonetheless, throughout the tale, it becomes clear that despite the old man's general skills, he ran out of luck and therefore cannot find material success. Pride, honor, and respect. Although Santiago is really humble and doesn't seem to care too much about the opinions of his colleagues, he actually takes pride in his abilities and wants recognition for them. After all, because of their friendly relationship, he wants Manolín to be there by his side to show the boy what kind of man he is and witness the best catch of his life. Defeating that huge fish in a fight that takes all that the old man has represents the respect that will come from other close people. It does not matter at all that Santiago could not bring the complete peace that he proudly obtained. The admiration of the people for the magnificent skeleton tied to the old man's ship shows that there is honor in his defeat. It is the fight itself that counts. Willing means mastering all probabilities and showing yourself true strength, no matter what the outcome is. Circle of life. Life and death are mostly relevant themes in this novel. The sea is a symbol for nature, which is simultaneously beautiful and cruel. It gives life but also takes it away. Each creature has its place in the food chain that keeps the circle of life going. Life and death are in perfect balance in the environment. Anyway, there is something to consider regarding this. Although Santiago knows about the circle of life and recognizes his own place, he fights firmly to survive. He risks his life working harder than anyone to catch a fish largely enough to provide meat for him to eat and sell. Fishing is Santiago's life, and it is what he chose for a living. While nature holds opposing forces in perfect balance, life and death mark human lives as two of the most important facts. Hemingway illustrates the human condition, a struggle against death that each individual must fight on his own.
In order to write about life, first you must live it. Ernest Hemingway.
A la deriva la noche, las selva invade el lanchón, la luna bola de sangre, la devoró el tiburón. Las olas vuelan chiñosas, rizadas por un ciclón, y la navega sin rumbo bajo un diluvio de ron. La noche guajira, Hemingway delira, Hemingway